Quran, we learn Quran, we learn Quran, we learn Quran, we learn Hadith, we learn Hadith, we learn Hadith, we learn Hadith, we learn the duas, we learn the duas, we learn the duas, we learn the duas, we love a prophet, we love a prophet, we love a prophet, we love a prophet. Abu Najma with kids. Abu Najma with kids. We learn Quran, we learn Quran, we learn Quran, we learn Quran, we learn Hadith.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Sabah show. This is the roundtable with me, Aisha Khan, where we discuss very thorny and pertinent issues in our society. And of course, today is no exception. Now, today we are talking about overcoming depression. Depression, Kenya's new health disaster. It is a silent killer. Now, a report by WHO ranks Kenyans as the 6th most depressed in Africa. Now, criminologists have linked it to cases of suicide, which mostly go unnoticed because of the stigma associated to it. We are indeed sitting on a ticking time bomb, but we are here to find solutions. And of course, I can't do this alone. I am with our very own Riziki Kaluki, who is a psychologist, to put things into perspective.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you for having me on your show.
We're honored to have you here. Now, Riziki, let's get into things. What is depression? When someone says, I am depressed, what does it mean?
Depression is a mood disorder. And it's not our normal everyday sadness. Like any life event that makes you sad does not mean that you have depression. So when you have depression, it's a mood disorder that is making you not be able to function normally, the way you would actually function. So until you get this dysfunctional, like you're not really doing your everyday activities, that's when we actually say now you're having depression. Just not normal sadness. Yeah.
And there are, of course, stages of depression.
Yeah, like we have a moderate, mild, and very severe depression. Yeah.
Now, I understand there are over 3,000 mental illnesses that exist, and depression is one of them. Now, what causes this depression?
Depression is caused by very many complex things. It could be biological, it could be psychosocial, and environmental. So many factors can actually cause depression. So it's not caused by one thing, and it's not really easy to say what actually really causes the depression. So it's very, very complex. Yeah.
Now let's look at case studies, real life situations of how depression comes about.
Okay, in most real life situations, it could be that somebody has gone through something very tragic, and maybe they're not able to cope with it. And at times we say, if it is bereavement, we could say they are going through some bereavement, they're not able to cope with it, but after some time they can deal with it. But if you're going through something like many life events that are very tragic, or you can't cope with them, and after some time this person just sort of becomes very sad, loses interest, and they are not able to function, now we can say now they are depressed. It doesn't always have to be life events. It could also be another mental illness, because other mental illness also predispose someone to having depression. Yeah.
Now, Riziki, like, let's make it a bit real for someone who is watching out there. You know, what are some of the things that really lead to this, like case studies that you've dealt with?
Okay, most case studies I have seen is, let's say somebody with bipolar. Bipolar is a mood disorder. Depression is a mood disorder. So we classify these mental illnesses according to what kind of a disorder. It could be an anxiety disorder or a mood disorder. So depression is a mood disorder. Bipolar is a mood disorder. So somebody with bipolar will have like two kind of moods, either a very manic mood or a depression, a depressed mood. So at times when they're not in the manic phase, they might be in the depressed state. So when you meet them, they are very, very depressed. They are in a very depressed mood. So that is when now you say this person has severe depression. They'll even be having suicidal ideation. So at that point, they are very depressed. At times, it's somebody who has gone through some life events in their life. Like it could even have happened in their childhood. And now in their adulthood, then it is hitting them and they're really suffering from it. And they just fall into a depression. So life events can also lead to depression, especially very traumatic.
Like which ones exactly? Like Riziki, what have you dealt with? You know, someone out there was literally depressed, but they did not know they had depression.
Okay, there are many, many cases of bipolar, people with bipolar, with depression. I've met many of those. And then there are those like maybe somebody was defiled in their childhood. Now they have become grown-ups, or they're in high school, and they are feeling they're not like any other person, and they just go into a depression. I've dealt with that where they're actually suicidal, and at times we have to actually put them in a hospital. I've dealt with people who have gone through maybe a very devastating divorce, and they just felt like they couldn't cope anymore, and they fall into a depression. So at times you get this depression from different kinds of people, and depending with what they are going through. Yeah.
What about the other normal things like pregnancy? Can
Yeah.
someone get depressed when they're pregnant?
Yes, somebody can also get depressed when they're pregnant. And we do have postnatal depression, which also comes at times just before they deliver and at times after delivery. So if maybe the pregnancy is very traumatic for them, maybe they've had many other miscarriages and now they are pregnant, they are worried, am I going to carry this baby to term? Or they've already been told something about the pregnancy, that this baby you could lose. Some people could actually get into a depressed state. Or if they're having other life events around them that actually are making them have a lot of anxiety or are not just happy. There are many things happening around them maybe that can actually predispose them to having the depression. Also, like if somebody has a terminal illness, like you've just been told maybe you have stage 4 cancer, there's no hope, and there's nothing more we can do for you. So when you're talking about the grieving process, we have the stages of grieving, and depression is part of that grieving process, because somebody might feel like this is the end of everything, and they could actually get highly depressed. Yeah.
Now let's move on to, you know, this is the 21st century and people are so into having their careers and having a life. Could that also be one factor that's leading to the high rate of depression?
You see, with depression, it's very more of a, when you say biological, it could be genetic. Are you more predisposed than other people? When you talk of environmental, what environment have you been living in, or what are the things that are happening around you? So if maybe I've had a lot of difficulties and then I'm trying to achieve a certain career goal and I'm not achieving it, that could actually lead to depression depending on the circumstances around me. Like what is it that is happening around me, and am I predisposed to getting depression? Or do I even have another mental illness?
Okay, so are some professions, you know, people in some fields more prone to depression than others?
Yes, because we do have what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a disorder that comes after you've gone through a traumatic event. So let's say we have something like a terror attack. Who are the first people to respond? Usually it will be maybe the policemen or the security forces, and journalists also appear there. So they'll be the first people to see these body parts, they'll be the first people to see the devastation. So if they don't get good support, it's very easy for them to actually go on and get post-traumatic stress disorder, depending on what else is also happening in their lives. Maybe somebody is going through a divorce or just lost a very close person, and they're the first person to respond there. They're going through all this. It's very easy for them to go into post-traumatic stress disorder. And once you have PTSD, it's very easy for you to also get depressed. One of the symptoms of PTSD is depression, because we're talking of very high stress levels. So when we are talking of journalists, at times they're the first ones also to appear there. They're taking pictures of all what is happening. How are they getting affected by all this? It's very easy for them to go into PTSD. And then the doctors receiving these patients in the emergency rooms. So these people are coming in pieces, in very bad state. And these doctors have to keep working with them. These same doctors at times are working with people who are going through a lot of pain, from this patient to another one. So it's not really easy if they don't get a good support system with a lot of debriefing, so that they don't go into depression or using other substance.
Now, Riziki, when I just started this show, I mentioned that WHO ranked, Kenyans as the 6th most depressed people in Africa. Why is this so?
I think this is so because for a long time, mental health has been largely ignored. When you look at budgets, we don't have a good budget for mental health. It is not something that is highly recognized. Most people do not understand mental health. And I think now it's time the government now takes, it's time now to sit and plan for mental health. Like, I believe every hospital should have psychologists on board and psychiatrists on board. So you'll find that many hospitals don't have psychologists on board, they don't have psychiatrists. And our psychiatrists are, like, when you mention a psychiatrist, somebody just thinks of Madare Hospital. When you think of Madare Hospital, somebody thinks of mad people. So in that, we have stigmatized mental health, and that is why I think we are now getting hit by depression, and we don't know how to deal with it because we've never laid any foundation for it.
Now, Riziki, what about our lifestyle? How we are living? We are too busy making a life at the expense of losing ourselves. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's very important to create your me time. You have to also create time to recreate yourself. Like, you don't just lose yourself in whatever you're doing, because when something hits you, at times you realize you don't even have friends. You've been so busy running around, maybe you don't even call any people, your family. And with depression, you need a lot of support to go through it. You need your friends, you need your family, you need, like, people who understand what you're going through. So it's very important for us to always create time to recreate ourselves, not just lose ourselves into our businesses or into our careers.
Now, Riziki, being a psychologist, of course, you deal with very many people who have mental illnesses, and depression being one of them. Give me personal examples of what you've dealt with.
Of
Depressed
depression.
people, yes. So that maybe a viewer who is out there and, is thinking, could be thinking they're depressed, but they're not sure if they're depressed. So maybe through the case studies, they can get to understand and have a feeling of what exactly depression is.
Okay, I do remember a lady who came and she was having depression, and she had quite severe depression because she had to go see a psychiatrist and actually be put on medication. And you would not see her smile. She looked quite miserable. She was not able to do her daily chores. Even taking a bath was something she would have to think about. Like, she would just want to stay in bed. Eating, she didn't feel like eating. She didn't want to eat. She didn't want to do anything or even sit with her family and talk or even eat with them. And she was not even able to cook. She told me the minute she entered the kitchen and she looked at what she had to do, she would get overwhelmed and just leave the kitchen and not be able to cook. She would not be able to even take care of her own basic needs. So she was very, very low. And at that point, like, we had to have her now see a psychiatrist and be started on some medication to try and uplift her mood. And then also now try to increase a bit of activity into her life, because she was really literally doing nothing. She'd even tell me, as I was coming today for the session, I was hoping the car would have an accident and I would die. I would not even get to reach here. And she had very many suicidal ideations, but she didn't really have a plan. She just kept on wishing I think because she, being a Muslim, didn't want to think of suicide. So she kept on thinking, I wish I could sleep and not wake up.
Okay.
And lack of concentration, lack of interest in anything. So they're just this person who is lost hope and feel like, I just want to die.
So that is like the last stage of depression.
This is severe depression.
Okay.
Severe depression.
Now, Riziki, that is someone who's sad. What about someone who is very happy, smiling? Can that person be depressed?
Yes, we have what we call people who are functioning and they are depressed. And at times, these are the people who go on to commit suicide without us actually having noted that. Because they put a mask on their face. They're actually really, really sad deep inside. But because they realize that these people don't want me to be sad. And we have this thing where people will tell you, snap out of this depression.
Okay.
Why are you looking sad? Are you the first person for this to happen to? You're not the first person to suffer from this. You're not the first person to go through this. So why are you depressed? Can you snap out of it? Or don't you have enough iman? What is wrong with you? So if somebody decides, if depression means lack of iman, then let me put a mask on my face. Let me act I'm okay. Let me smile and deal with everything. But deep inside, they're actually dying. But we can't see it because we don't give them the chance to express themselves. We keep telling them, snap out of it, snap out of it. So in that, they'll just mask. And the next thing is, you'll just hear maybe somebody jumped out of a building. I remember a client who was telling me she was worried because she was having depression and her colleague had just come to work, very normal, looked very happy, and jumped out through the window.
Oh my God.
And they had never suspected he had any form of depression. So at times people do mask their depression. Yes.
Wow. So you can have depression where you're in the very critical stage because you did not manage it earlier, and you can also have very, very happy people having depression and we don't know. There's this quote that I always see on social media. It says, be kind to every person because you do not know what they're dealing with. Well, we'll be taking a short break and we will be right back. And we have our next guest, who is Fatma Sufi. Of course, due to the rains, she has delayed, but she's here with us to tell us her story of how she overcame depression. Stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Practice this direction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perfectly.
Reminders from the member.
Msije mkafata nyayo na barabara na njia ya shetani.
Saa ingine Muslim anafikiria ni kupata mali neema.
With the best of hatibs.
We tasted the pleasure, the sweetness of ibadah. Because the Prophet ﷺ said,
There are no times that can be equal to these days except maybe.
Tune in to Horizon TV and watch Friday khutbahs from different masajid every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m.
Walk with us as we tell you the stories of our society.
Wengine atavaa mtandio kichwani, utafikiri ni kijihandkerchief.
Enzi za wakati wa kusema ati alisema, akasisitiza, akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Kwa kuchimbua na kunakili matukio kwa undani.
We want to create current awareness,
Ranging from adventure, human interest and inspirational stories.
Ili kuweza kukuelimisha, kukuburudisha na kukubumbuisha.
Words have been said, but now it is time to lay the foundation that will impact the world.
Terrorism is terrorism, no matter who is behind the trigger.
تبارك الذي نزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا.
kitabu kitukufu
Qur'ani ni kitabu ambacho cha miujiza
kilichoteremshwa kwa mpangilio.
Hazikuletwa harufu hizi za mkato moja kwa moja,
Hakuna mfano wake,
na hamwezi nyinyi Makureishi kuwa ni wenye kutunga kitabu kama hiki, ingawa zimetumia harufu zile ambazo zimezitumia katika kuandika au katika kusema.
Miujiza yake Al-Malik.
Mwenyezi Mungu ana uwezo usiokuwa na kifano.
Ni malengo ya Qur'an.
Khazain zote za ardhi na samawati ziko mikononi mwake.
Sheikh Muhammad Badamana na uchambuzi wa Qur'an kwa undani kila Alhamisi saa 3 usiku kwenye Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are now at the Arena 1. And over here we have player of the day.
I'm back to beat Hamza's team.
Is it time?
I chose Surah Al-Mutaffifin. I don't know the names, but Nabi Isa said, I am a slave of Allah. Is it Prophet Luqman?
1 point for this team.
Welcome to Active Sunday.
Things which will happen at the last day, which is very shocking.
That's not fair because I wasn't here.
It's a happy, happy, happy day. Oh, what a happy day it is for Active Sunday. Rasulullah, Rasulullah.
Akawa Abdul Muttalib ampenda sana Mtume sallam hata kushinda watoto wake. Na Abdul Muttalib, Mtume Muhammad sallam alikuwa ni mjukuu wake. Abu Talib na babake Mtume sallam dimba ndugu, tumbo moja, mama moja, baba moja. Baada ya miaka miwili Abdul Muttalib kufa, alipofika miaka 10 wakaamua kufunga safari kwenda Sham, kwenda kufanya biashara. Faqala rahib, huyu mtoto akifika akionekana dola ya Rum watamuua. Akaamua kurudi kuweza kuishi katika mji wa Makka kwa mara nyingine.
From the most interesting things is the alertness of the dying person at the time of his death. For he becomes perceptive to a degree which cannot be described, and worried to an extent that has no limits. And he yearns for his times of old, and wishes that he be left so that he can make up for what passed him by, and so that he can be truthful in his repentance, in accordance with the level of certainty he now has about death. And he, out of grief, almost kills his own soul before its actual death. And if a single atom's weight of these things were found at the time of health and well-being, everything that is intended by doing pious deeds would be achieved. So the intelligent one is he who pictures that hour and acts according to what it requires. And if he is not able to do that, then he visualizes it as much as he is able to, for it will prevent desire's hand and will arouse determination in him.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the second segment of the Roundtable with me, Aisha Khan. And of course, we have been waiting for Fatma Sufi. Now, the author of Overcoming Depression, a very interesting book here we have. And I was with Riziki Kaluki in the first segment. We talked about what is depression, you know, what causes this depression. And now we need to look at, you know, the story of Fatma Sufi and look at is it normal to have depression, or is it bad to have depression? Now, Fatma Sufi, I'll come to you. At the age of 25, you have written this book. Now, what led you to write this book at 25 years old? How did you know that you were depressed?
Okay, firstly, when I was writing the book, I didn't know I was going to write or rather bring my story out there. And when I actually went through it, this is my personal journey.
Okay.
And there were so many reasons that actually led me to depression while I was young. Firstly, I lost my grandmother, and I was raised by her. Secondly, was I took a career that was not mine, but I got fine with it at the end of the day. And then thirdly, in our community, we believe in early marriages. You're supposed to be married by this time. Yes, by this time you're supposed to be having kids or something. So I wasn't ready for that, so I was getting a lot of pressure, and that pressure actually pushed me to the edge. So in the end, I said, you know, after the journey, I did a lot of research, got a lot of help, and then I was actually writing down my story, and then I said, actually someone out there is going through whatever I was going through at that moment, and I needed to put my story out there so that people actually know depression is real, and actually it can happen to anyone, any age, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so depression is real. Now, Riziki, I'll come to you from what she's just said. You know, what are the signs and symptoms of knowing that someone is depressed?
Okay, like we had talked before, one is that depression is not visible. It's not something like, you see when you have a broken leg, everybody can see you have a cast. So if you come in, they'll get space for you, like you sit because you're having a broken leg. But I usually think of depression as this wound that is in your brain that nobody can see. There's a bandage, but we can't see that bandage. So this person is actually going through a lot. So when you're saying you're depressed, there's extreme sadness. There's loss of interest in what somebody would naturally want to do. There'll be lack of concentration. They'll not be able to sleep as well as any other person. They'll either get into bed and toss and turn, and they can't sleep, or when they sleep, they'll wake up in the middle of the night and the sleep goes away, or they will just oversleep and want to stay in bed. They will withdraw away from other people. They want to be more by themselves. They will not be the people who are busy talking to you, thinking of the future. They have a sense of hopelessness, like nothing is good anymore, nothing is fun anymore. Even the activities they used to like doing, maybe they used to like going to the malls or something, they don't want to do that anymore. They just want to stay by themselves. And they feel like nobody likes them anymore, or nothing is good anymore, and then a lot of negative thinking, a lot of negative thoughts keep creeping into their mind. And at times they get to a point where they feel like, I can't do this anymore. They become very suicidal, like I wish I could just die and just get away from all this. So all this extreme sadness, and I usually try to make it very simple. For me, I say when somebody is depressed, imagine yourself in a hole that is painted all black and has a lid on the top. So you really want to get out of it, but you don't know how to push this lid and get out. And when you look around, all what you see is blackness. So you are inside there all alone. So for me, that is what really depression is, to make it to the most lay terms, like for somebody to try and get it. Yes.
Now, Riziki, as you just said, depressed people really hide themselves. They don't want to be talked to. Now, as people surrounding these depressed people, how should they approach them? Because most of the times you hear this comment, snap out of it, and that makes things even worse. So how can we treat them?
One is we have to agree that this person is just not having normal sadness. It's now gone beyond being a normal sadness. So long as you're now saying this person is having depression, it's now beyond just being a normal sadness. So they will not snap out of it. There's no snapping out of a depression. And it's very important to understand that this person now is having an illness which needs support. Either they will need just psychotherapy if it is mild. If it is very severe, they'll now also need some form of medication. So we have to look at how severe is this depression. And you don't snap. I wish this could just get across. We don't snap out of a depression. It's an illness, and it will take time for it to heal. So it's not something, we can't tell people snap out of your cancer. We don't tell people that. We don't tell people snap out of your HIV. So I do not understand how we can tell somebody snap out of your depression, or you're depressed because your iman is low. That is the same thing as telling somebody you're having cancer because your iman is low. So it's not about you're having a low iman, you are now sick. It's not, it's now beyond you. So it's no longer about just extreme sadness. But I believe that spirituality is a very important factor in healing any illness, depression or cancer. When I have this person, I know like it is Allah, I can pray to Allah, I can actually do a lot of adhkar, it actually elevates some of this depression and even makes you feel much better because you're having a hope in that Allah can come in and even give you a miracle cure or even make it easier for you. So we're not saying that we don't need to do our dua and whatever. For me, even when I'm talking to somebody who is having depression, I tell them increase your adhkar, increase your Quran recitation, increase your ibadah. It really, really helps. Yes.
Amazing. Now, Fatima, coming to you, you being a victim of depression, and of course there are very many people who have undergone depression and still look very normal. What would you expect from people? How would you want them to treat you?
Firstly, whatever Madam Riziki was saying was actually true, because I was a victim. Normally, if you're told to snap out of it, or you're told this is a normal thing, just wake up and go, you feel as if the person does not understand you. You wish them for you to exactly. So what you get, you become hostile. You're like, this people doesn't even care about me, you know. The sense of caring towards them actually reduces. So for us, at that moment, for me, I wanted somebody to actually look through me, not look at me, but I wanted them to look through me and know that I am actually going through something. Because maybe that time I didn't know personally. So I want them to know that, Fatima, you're not okay. So just sit down and actually speak to me and tell me what's going on. I just wanted somebody to vent at, if it makes sense. I wanted somebody to talk to. So for me as a victim, I would say we want someone who listens to us, a good listener, but not somebody who actually tells us what to do, but asks us if we are okay.
Amazing. Now, Riziki, back to you. You know, there's this notion that we say, have patience, read a lot of Quran, you know, your iman is really low. Is that really what you should tell a depressed person? Is that what they are, you know, waiting to hear from you?
I think she said it so well.
Yeah.
They just want to be listened to. And that is what a good therapist should be, a good listener. Somebody who can empathize with what she's going through. I can actually wear her shoes, feel her pain, and understand where she's coming from. What is she feeling? Then get to understand, why is she having these feelings? Where is it coming from? What can we do to now start mitigating these feelings? So it's about actually being there for this person. And if we are saying, okay, Iman is a very important aspect in any form of treatment. That's my greatest belief. Whether it is cancer, whether it is HIV, whether it is depression, our Iman plays a big role. We even see people who are more spiritual heal faster than people who do not have any spirituality. So Iman plays a big role in the treatment. But it does not mean that because I am having depression, I do not have Iman. That is, I think, where we really need to put it straight. Yes.
Now, let's talk about stereotyping. You know, you come from the Somali community. African communities in general stereotype against mental illness. Now, when you woke up and realized that you're going through depression, did anyone stereotype against you and tell you, you know what, you're fine, just go pray and you'll be fine?
Well, yes, I did, honestly speaking, because one thing they noticed, I was not as social as I was.
Okay.
Because I'm a people person. Then they were like, okay, now you're not social anymore. Like, you don't want to talk, what is not happening. But when I tell them, they're like, no, your iman is getting low, you should start praying sunnah, you should start fasting, of which, honestly speaking, it is true. Because as she said, if you have iman, I believe anything is possible. You know, you can get through it because you believe, like at the end of the day, you have someone, you have Allah actually, you don't have anyone. These people are just okay, you need them, but Allah is the most. So I said, okay, fine. I actually, I was praying and then I fasted for 3 consecutive days because I wanted to know what was actually wrong with me. Because I believed maybe my iman was getting low, I didn't know. So stereotype is actually there. People are like, okay, wake up. What are you doing? This is something small. You're a grown-up. You can handle this. What is going on? Your grandma is gone. Forget about her. Pray for her every single Friday. You must move on. Of which I was raised by her. She was my caregiver. Actually, she was my best friend. So for you to lose such a best friend and people to tell you you'll be okay, to me that time didn't make sense. And then for people to tell me you can settle down, just go, marry anyone, make babies. That's the most important thing. I didn't want it. So people are like, no, now you're just pretending. You just need some, you're just an
very
attention
ungrateful
seeker.
in life.
Yes.
Wow, amazing. Now we'll be taking a short break and we will be right back, because in the last segment we'll be looking at solutions. How can you be depressed and still be okay? So we'll look at, you know, how to prevent it, and again, how can we still be happy and still know that there is depression and still be there for the people who are undergoing it, and again, like Riziki said, not just say snap out of it. Stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show, only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Wake up to exciting mornings every day. Active Jumatatu with Muhammad Obura. Tech Tuesday with Yusuf Farah. Wednesday, the special edition Business Chat with Ibtisam Jamal. All about your health on Healthy Thursdays with Mariam Wacharo. Aisha Khan with thorny pertinent issues every Friday on the Round Table. Fresh discussions, direct probe in Sabah Show, only on Horizon TV. Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show, only on Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the last segment of this roundtable, and today we are talking about overcoming depression. Now, I will come to you, Riziki. We have diseases such as HIV, cancer, you know, they're taken as very severe diseases. And then here again, we have depression, which is part of mental illness. And so many people are committing suicide, yet we do not still take it very seriously. Why is this so?
I think, like I started by saying, mental illness has been largely ignored for a long time because it carries a stigma with it. Like the minute you say mental illness, people think a mad person running around the street. And we have this common statement, we say every town or every market has a mad man. So when you're talking about like things like that, it becomes a very negative thing. So even when somebody is having depression, we want to run away from that. As a family, we don't want to accept it because it has a stigma on it. So it's easier for me to say I'm having cancer. I'll get more empathy and sympathy from everybody. But when I tell you people I am suffering from depression, people will wonder, what is wrong with you? Are you lacking iman? What is happening in your life? You can't handle even your own life. What is wrong with you? So we don't usually give it the same kind of empathy like somebody who has cancer will get. So when HIV started, I mean, it first appeared, it had a big stigma. Like nobody would even dare say, I'm HIV positive. Nowadays, people are actually able to say, because it has now become a chronic illness that is managed. But now when you come to mental illness, we actually try to run away from it. Nobody wants to have a family member with mental illness. Even when you're doing history taking, you're asking, do you have any member in your family who has mental illness? And the first thing people say is no. Then you say, okay, do you have any person who you have ever maybe had treated for something you guys did not understand, or were they having hallucinations? Then yeah, we do have this uncle. So you can see immediately the first answer will be no, because of the stigma. So the first thing is we have to fight the stigma on mental illness. Once we can fight that stigma, people will be more open to say, I am suffering from depression and I need help. The high suicide rates are a wake-up call. When I watch the news and I see a 9-year-old has committed suicide, a 13-year-old has committed suicide, an executive somebody somewhere has committed suicide, a wife has committed suicide, a policeman has committed suicide. This is a wake-up call to tell us that anybody can commit suicide. It doesn't have to be a person who, like, maybe we think is suffering so much. Any one of us can actually get to that level when we have this severe depression. And I know that suicide has a lot of implication. Like in Islam, we are so strict on it. We say, like, the minute you commit suicide, you might not even be able to enter Jannah, you can go to hell. So this is something our sheikhs maybe need to tell us further, because at times when this person is so severely depressed, I don't know if at that time they're in the correct state of mind to even have made that decision. So I don't know whether they fall among those ones where the kalam has been lifted for them, so I don't know. So that's something maybe we need to have further discussions. But before people get into this depressed state where they are now suicidal, can we at least have interventions in place so that we know that we can intervene before they get very suicidal?
Now, coming to you, Fatma, you know, apart from, you know, being a people's person and then not being a people's person, what else were you going through? Something that people didn't know that was happening to you, because they were saying everything is fine, because you wanted to make them feel that way. Tell us.
Okay, apart from being a people's person, I actually developed insomnia, because I used to just go to bed, but I'm not actually sleeping. I would find myself, the first adhan I'm hearing it, but I've not slept a wink. But people would think I was actually sleeping. I might even sleep the whole day, but I'm not sleeping. But people think I'm oversleeping, like, why are you sleeping too much? But I'm not sleeping. I just want to have my own time to avoid everything that is actually happening. Secondly, I would say my phone was like a friend to me, because I was just holding it. Because I did not want any distractions. I did not want to engage with the human, my fellow human. It made me sick to my stomach, if I would put it that way. And then I did not want to go to like a visitation to the family. I did not want to see my family at all. I stayed in the house. I don't want anything to do. I don't want, my hair was unkept. I don't want to do anything. I loved household chores. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit in one position the whole day. Even going to the toilet was actually a problem for me, because I feel like that distance I'm walking and the people I get bumped into on my way would actually talk to me and tell me, oh, what is wrong with you? I just did not want that. So I just wanted to be alone.
Now, Riziki, back to you. You know, as you said, every town has a madman. And now there are families out there who have depressed people. They have a history of depression, but yet the family members are not willing to accept that there is a problem. In such a situation, what should be done?
I think the people who are now trying to help these people have to try to, in a very sensitive way, make them understand what they are going through. Like, we do feel there's something happening, and we do feel you need some help, and we do feel you need support. So, like, show empathy for what they are going through. And that way, maybe you're able to pull them now to come and share what they're going through, and maybe even seek help, because they really need this help. So it's about us being very sensitive and have a lot of empathy with them. Yeah.
Now, a very interesting point from that is, is depression contagious? Because, dealing with depressed people is not a very easy thing. Now, this person comes, vents to you, or this person is acting in a very funny behavior such that, you're a type of person who takes in a lot of, other people's energy. So can you also get depression when you're dealing with such people?
Remember I talked about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Like we have what we call vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma is when maybe you're narrating to me something really traumatic.
Yes.
So I can actually get traumatized just from the narration. Even watching television, even watching a movie, that's where we get the vicarious trauma. So I can actually get traumatized just by listening to somebody else's narration. So it's very important, like for a psychotherapist, you have to go for supervision, where we are now able to deal with the traumatic events we have been listening to and the stories we have been listening to. So as a normal person, maybe you're not doing a psychotherapy, but you're listening to other, you have to find a way of you dealing with it. Is it you're doing some form of exercise? Is it you're taking time out to go for a recreation? So you have somewhere you're also able to get it out of your system. Yeah.
Amazing. Now we've talked about the problems. Let's look at the solutions. Fatma, you've written a book here, Overcoming Depression. How did you overcome depression?
Firstly, I would say is to let go. I had to learn how to let go of things that I can control. Because if you can't control them, they're beyond you. So you have to come to the realization. The second thing is I had to move away from the stage of denial.
Okay.
I had to accept my situation.
But how did you reach that point, where you're like...
Pushed to the edge and I became suicidal. I didn't get a time to... I was actually thinking of a good thing in my life that would actually make me breathe another second.
Okay.
Because I would say, sometimes I would ask myself, okay, yeah, fine. If I take away my life, that's already done on my side. So I shouldn't do it. So I'm like, okay, fine. This is not something I can do. But what can I do? I was actually pushed to that edge. I left home. I decided to leave everyone.
Okay.
And then after that, there's one aunt of mine who was like a mother to me, and she sat me down. That is when I actually realized I had a problem.
Okay.
Because she said, I went through the same thing you're going through, but today I'm here and I'm standing here. You just have to be stronger. Or in your mindset, just say, I am stronger than this. So I said, okay, fine. Do I have a problem? And I started doing the research. So after I did the research, I said, okay, fine, now I'm going through something, yes? So I accepted my situation.
Okay.
And I said, your grandma is gone. She's not coming back.
Yes.
Just what you can do is pray for her. But you can live with her through her memories, the memories you actually shared with her.
Yeah.
So I said, now that I have that, so I can use that in my daily life.
Yeah.
And then the third thing was to actually seek forgiveness to anyone I vented to, because sometimes you become so hostile to people, you turn them away. Anyone who's coming to help you, you feel like they're just the same, you just turn them away. So I had to ask for forgiveness and forgive myself to also get a peace of mind. And then to also think of my happiness at the end of the day and to get back slowly, not like this, but I had to take my steps, becoming more social with people, talking to people, talking about my problem and say, I lost my grandmother. I just looked to a stranger and I'm like, hi, how are you? Do you know I lost my grandmother? If you feel like listening, it's okay. You know what I mean? I wanted to talk more about it.
Yes.
Because here now, I've written, yes, overcoming depression, but that is me still overcoming it.
Yes.
Because I'm still talking about it.
Yeah.
So I said, if today I talk about it, I cry, tomorrow I cry. And I said, it is okay.
It
I
makes
actually
the
wrote it
pain
there.
less.
Exactly. And
Okay.
I said it is okay not to be okay sometimes. Because we're all human. Everybody, you can't be perfect at the end of the day. Sometimes you're down. So I write, okay, this time I'm feeling down. Okay, what made me elevate my mood? So I would actually reread whatever I've done and then actually redo it. So that is actually the steps that I had to take. And I told you I fasted for 3 days to ask for help from Allah. And I think from there, after forgiveness, I accepted. I started talking more about my problem. I started writing it down. I went back home. I told everyone I am sorry, whatever I've done. Not for actually running away, because I had to get my peace of mind at the end of the day.
Yeah.
but for actually living the way I did without telling anyone. So Alhamdulillah, right now I'm actually sitting here with you, and I am okay, I must say, and sometimes I'm not okay, but it is okay, you know, it is okay not to be okay.
It is okay not to be okay. Very interesting. Now, Riziki, how can we prevent being depressed?
Okay, first remember I said the causes could be biological, could be environmental, could be the psychosocial. Like for her, she had something that predisposed her. She's talking about an aunt, I think, who had depression. So there's this maybe a genetic factor to it. And then she had a life event, somebody very close to her died, and maybe nobody even gave her time to really understand. And preventing is actually like what she was talking about. Our spirituality is a resilience factor. We can actually use that to prevent us getting depressed. Then also what she was talking about, journaling, and also learning that you're not in control of anything. And whatever you can control is what you deal with. Whatever you cannot control, you let go. I always tell people, if we could deal with just 3 things, you cannot control what people think, you'll never control what people say, you'll never control what people do. So what do I control? I control myself, my responses to what people are thinking about me, my responses to what people are saying and what people are doing. So once I lead that life, I say that's the most simple life, and that way you are able to deal with so much. But we must remember that I said there are many forms of mental illness that can predispose somebody to getting depression. So if I'm having bipolar, at times it's not within my control even, like I'll just go into this depressed state. It's a mood disorder. At times if somebody is having something like obsessive compulsive disorder, they feel like I'm not normal like everybody else. How come I go to the toilet and I get to wash myself over 30 times? How come I say Allahu Akbar and I tell myself I didn't say it, I have to say it 10 times? So they actually would go into a depression because they feel like they're just not acting like everybody else. And even people who are using substance, they are more likely also to go into a depression, or they could be using the substance to alleviate their depression symptoms. So it's like a very complex thing. It's not as simple as maybe would like to just handle it. Depression is not that simple. Yeah.
Wow. Fatma, a very beautiful book here with your image on it. Now, if someone wants to purchase this book, because what I've seen, it has the signs and symptoms, it has your story, it even has a point where you said, you know, how to deal with a depressed person, because that is what you were going through. So you've given a lot of tips and tricks regarding depression. So if I want to get this book, there's a viewer out there watching, where can they purchase this book from?
Well, they can get it through my Twitter at Fatma Sufi, and also my Facebook, which is also Fatma Sufi. So yeah, if they contact me through there, they can get one.
So that is on Facebook at Fatma Sufi, on Twitter at Fatma Sufi. Now, to wrap up this show, you know, what is your final words to viewers out there, Riziki?
My final word is we don't snap out of depression, and there is a therapy for depression. Actually, what she was describing was cognitive behavioral therapy, where we talk about removing these negative thoughts and coming in with more positive thinking, having a gratitude journal, journaling every day, having some adding activity into your life, forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving others. So there's lots of stuff that you can do actually to work towards having, like, getting to be depression free. And it doesn't come like that. We don't snap out of it.
It takes time.
Yes.
Now, Riziki, before I go to Fatma, there's a very interesting question coming in, and someone is like, you know, I have been told to take medication, but I feel like this medication will make me dumb for the rest of my life.
I think that is the stigma that I keep talking about. That people think if I take the medication, I'm going to be dumb, I'm not going to be okay. Most of the time, they'll use the medication for maybe 6 to 8 months. And this is for severe depression. And doesn't even have to be medication. There are other forms of treatment still. So there's psychotherapy plus the medication. There's psychotherapy only. There is like many forms of treatment for depression. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Fatma, what are your final words to people out there?
Well, my final words are this.
Yeah.
As I told you before, it is okay not to be okay.
Yes.
Second thing is, if you find someone is not acting the way they're supposed to or their normal behavior, always ask them what is wrong. And don't be in a hurry to judge them when they tell you something. When like today I tell you, Aisha, I'm going through, today I just saw someone who's doing this and this. There's something calling debrief. Like when I call you as a friend, let me debrief. If you call me, let us do the same. Don't be in a to judge someone because, hi, how are you? I did this. Like, why did you do it? What is wrong with you? Are you crazy? Are you this? Sometimes people are doing it, but they don't know they're actually doing it. So when they realize they're doing something and they tell you, be privileged and just say, you're going to be okay. It is fine. Help them find a solution rather than judging them.
Amazing. Now, to end this roundtable, I always leave you with my perspective. And today I have an addition here. It is okay not to be okay. Now, Islam teaches us that life will throw to us very many, signs of uncertainty, anxiety, and a lot of stress. But that is part of being a human being. Even the Prophet, at some point of his life, he had a lot of anguish. And Allah comforted him. That is a big lesson to all of us. We need to come together and be there for each other, because today it is me and tomorrow it will be you. Now, before we end this show, there's a very beautiful skit done by two amazing boys from Isli. Take a look.
Feels like I'm losing my mind. It only gets harder with time. Feel like letting go. Don't wanna leave this behind. I'm willing to change this time. I'll give it all I can. Ya Allah, don't let me fall. Losing control of my life.
Can't really speak when the pain is real. It only gets harder when you turn to pills. Can't switch sides and it really kills. Tell me how you feel without a happy pills. You're the man with the deals and the shining grills. Walking with the girl in the Holly Hills. But now, tell me how you really feel. Without God in your life, the King of Kings, the one who always got you when you're down the hill. He knows how you feel. He knows how you feel.
It feels like I'm losing my mind. It only gets harder with time. Feel like letting go. Don't wanna leave this behind. I'm willing to change this time. I'll give it all I can. Ya Allah, don't let me fall. Losing control of my life.
Only pain, down memory lane. This is who I want. Now look at what I became. Truly not the same. Should've prayed for change. Oh Lord, I'm ashamed.
Truly hurts, I ain't gonna lie. I raise my hands to the Most High. Pray for you and me to survive. Tomorrow ain't promised, so don't live a lie.
Yeah.
Let's not live a lie.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's brighten up your morning. I am Aisha Khan and you're watching the Sabah Show.
Only on Horizon TV.
Assalamu alaikum.